Okay guys, hello and welcome to session 1 of your Easter Revision Paper 1 course. My name is Gavin. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to try and deliver you the best possible content, go through all of these 5 sessions with you and give you a nice clear understanding of how to get 50% of our entire English grade, something that is often neglected, something is often kind of thought that, you know what, it'll be alright on the night, everything will be fine with paper 1, you know, you can't study, that old adage, you can't study for paper 1, simply untrue. Over the next 5 sessions we will see how you can very clearly study for paper 1, and what we will try our best to do is chalk up as much of this 50% as possible. There's a couple of areas, certainly question A and question B, which we will look at over the next couple of sessions where we can really gain significant marks, and there's significant marks that are often lost as well by simply not knowing those 1 or 2 little pointers that will garner from these video sessions. All right, if you guys are ready to launch in, what I would say is you have your notes in front of you, the notes that say paper 1, big behemoth set of notes, a hell of a lot of content within them. And what I'd also encourage is that you have kind of pens ready, highlighters if you work with them as well, and then a copy out in front of you as well. All right, so what our plan is over the 5 sessions, what we're going to do in session 1, very, very significant, because again, dealing with a lot of students, in some cases over 350 students a day is what I deal with here in the academy, getting a nice sample from all the different schools, both on the north and south side of Dublin, that a lot of us don't know how to use our categories of language, don't even know what our categories of language are. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with an overview of the language, the types of language that exist in English, and how we're going to utilize and how we're going to use them for our paper 1 material. We're going to have a little look at timing as well and time management. Again, we got to be absolute surgeons when it comes to time management in both paper 1 and paper 2. And we're going to look at our marking scheme, where the marks are going, how many pages that we have to write, etc, etc. Really just an overview of paper 1, all the necessary things that we need to do. In session 2, we're going to be looking at 12.5% of our grade, which will be breaking down question A, really figuring out what are the potential questions, what are the questions I'm likely to see, and then how do I ultimately go about answering those types of questions. But again, we can't take on session 2 unless you've done the base work in session 1 here. You can't take on session 2 if you don't have a good understanding of our categories of language. On into session 3, we're going to be looking at our question B question. Again, another 12.5%. And this, for all of us at home at the minute, question B really is an area every single one of you guys should be getting as close to, if not the full 12.5% as well, okay? So question B will be pure creative, pure composing, and we'll look and see in session 3 how we get on with that. And then guys, in session 4 and 5, what we're going to do is we're going to spend 2 full sessions, and the reason why we're spending 2 full sessions on our essays, and that's what we're going to be looking at, is because our essays account for 25% of our entire English grade. Not 25% of just paper 1, but it's 25% of everything that we do in English. So we need to give it those 2 sessions, we need to give it its due course, all right? So guys, that's what we're going to look at over the next 5 sessions. And again, what we'll do is we'll try and take as much information as we can from it in order to have a successful paper 1. What I would say is, in terms of obviously in the midst of everything that's going on, the beauty of this relationship, teacher to student down the lens of a camera, is that you can pause it, you can rewind it, listen to the little one-liners that I say, stop, go back, re-listen to it, again, jot it down, and start to use your own vernacular. Start to amalgamate maybe some of the things that I say, some of the pieces of vocab that I use, and then chop and change it and see what suits you guys, all right? So that's where we're at the minute. If we launch into session 1 straight away, as discussed, it's an overview. It's our paper 1 overview. We will be focusing heavily on our categories of language, but before that, let's look at our exam layout, okay? In terms of our timing and our page numbers, guys, very, very significant. We need to stick to it to the minute, all right? If you start going 1 minute over the timing that I give you here, 2 minutes over, 3 minutes over, all you are doing is damaging your own grade, all right? If it's a case you get to a point where, look, I'm spending far too long on this, well then stop, move on to the next section, attack that section, and if you get a chance, then come back to the previous section, okay? But you don't want to be spending 5, 6, 7 minutes more on a particular area when you have other things to do, okay? So here's our time management, guys. And this is our plan for paper 1, in the sense that we are going to take 10 minutes to read over paper 1, to read over the paper. Now, the reason why it's 10 minutes, and even when I read that, 10 minutes almost gives me a sense of anxiety and a sense of worry, because 10 minutes is a very, very long time. If it's a case that you want to spend 5 minutes there, that's absolutely fine as well. Just be conscious that there are certain things that you need to do when engaging with the paper for the first time. Case in point, you need to choose your question A question, you need to choose your question B question, and you need to choose your section 2 question. And this all should be done at the very beginning of your script, okay? You need to look and see what particular style suits you. Now, this is something we'll talk about a little bit later on in today's session and on into session 2 as well. But again, you play to your strengths. If it's a case that you're really good at writing persuasively, or in terms of argumentatively, and you see a speech or a TED talk in question A, well then you gravitate towards that. Likewise in question B, if you see something where it asks you to present, you know, a talk to your fellow classmates, well then you gravitate towards that, all right? So take the 10 minutes at the very beginning, just settle down, ease into the paper. It's the first thing that you're going to engage with your leaving cert, so just slow it down a little bit, all right? Question A, when you get to it, and when you start putting pen to paper, question A is going to take 45 minutes. Now 45 minutes, I know for a fact, is a lot longer than other day school teachers are suggesting. You need this, okay? And you can't, I suppose, run away from the fact that question A is 12.5%. It's the same percentage breakdown as your studied poetry. Reading an exercise and answering questions on paper 1 here on your question A is the exact same percentage breakdown as your ability to comment on Boland or Frost or Dickinson, all right? So that is something that we need to be mindful of, all right? Take the 45 minutes. We'll look at this again in session 2, that we're reading our title, reading our text box at the start, jumping to the questions, understanding what questions they're asking us, what the specific language of the question is, and then diving into it, okay? So we will need that 45 minutes. Again, as we can see, we're going to try and write a little bit more than potentially other day school teachers are suggesting as well. So we'll need that 45 minutes, okay? I'll come back to our page numbers now in 2 seconds' time. Our question B, guys, is 35 minutes, and this is potentially an area here where a lot of us will save a little bit of time. The reason why we'll save a little bit of time here is because typically it should take us around 8 to 10 minutes if we're very, very fast, guys. If we're fast writers at home, it'll take us about 8 to 10 minutes to write a full A4 page, maybe 12 minutes if we're slightly slower. Nonetheless, you know, even if we go with the elongated 12 minutes, we're still only looking at 24 minutes to get the 2 A4 pages that we need here. So we have time. You know, a plan, which I'll talk about now in a second, a plan which is warranted in question B is only going to take 60 seconds to 2 minutes as well. So even at the far-reaching end of the scale there, we're only at 26 minutes. So it's very plausible that we'll gravitate or we'll gain back another bit of time there, okay? And the final aspect, as I said, in terms of weighting, in terms of percentage weighting, it is the most important part of your exam in both paper 1 and paper 2. 25% of our entire grade, 100 marks on the day, okay, we're going to spend 80 minutes on section 2. Now that might not be 80 minutes of pure writing, but again, you have to use a plan for your section 2 answer. You have to understand what category of language are they asking me to write in here, and how am I going to make sure that this is as obvious and as easy for the examiner to correct as possible. Okay?